is up, everybody? This is week 11. Tony Cotillo here, Jigsaw. Tony Cotillo at Fox Sports PHL Gambler, getting you ready for our traditional Sunday service here, talking fantasy football from 9:30 to 10:30, talking about best bets with Mark Drumheller at 10:30 to 11:30, and as always, Victor Williams and Sean Brace doing the Bird Brains thing, talking about all things Eagles, taking you up to that 1 p.m. Cleveland kickoff. But right now, for this hour, we talk about fantasy football and fantasy. Jenna already checking in with a huge question. Jenna, hook it up. Let's go. Let's start right off the bat. Jerry Jeudy or Duke Johnson or Michael Thomas. Wow. You're going with the big guns right off the bat. And I'll tell you, here's the thing. Everybody wants to know, is this finally going to be the Michael Thomas week, right? I'm never betting on Duke Johnson, ever, ever, ever. I will never do that. I like Jerry Jeudy, obviously. I like him because, listen, Jerry Jeudy, he's an up-and-coming wide receiver, very, very athletic, right? But I'm going Michael Thomas. And, again, I know Taysom Hill makes you nervous. He makes everybody nervous. And here's the thing I can tell you. Honestly, my own prediction is, you know how they utilize Taysom Hill with Drew Brees? I think it's going to be the same thing with Jameis Winston. I do not think that Taysom Hill is going to play a complete game. Just my opinion. Sean Payton is one of the most ingenious minds in the NFL. When we're talking about play call, we're talking about a full NFL production on the field. And don't tell me he doesn't have some kind of tricks up his sleeve to get all these people activated and involved in one game. And I think it's going to happen. So, Jenna, I am going all in on Michael Thomas. I think this is a Michael Thomas week. It is. I really do think that's what's going to happen. Listen, we are going to talk so much in this action-packed hour. We're trying to keep 40 minutes, but I have so much to do. I have DFS undervalued plays. I worked my butt off to give you guys as much as I can in this hour. I'm going to give you image files. We're going to look at who you can get under $3,400. Everybody checking in. Brandon Cooks right now. Brandon Cooks or DJ Moore. Interesting. I like Brandon Cooks. I love Brandon Cooks today. I like Houston today. I know they're going up against New England, but I like Houston and I like Brandon Cooks. DJ Moore for me. Listen, we don't know what's going to go on out there, right? But I think today is a Robbie Anderson day for the Carolina Panthers. And you don't know 100%. Is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater? Is it going to be P.J. Walker? Or even if Teddy does start and he is active and, how much is he going to play? There's so many things to look at that scenario. One thing with Brandon Cooks, he has Deshaun Watson, right? He has Deshaun Watson. So let's get it going with him. Super flat. Right now, Jenna wants to know, we're talking defenses. Vikings defense versus Dallas or Cleveland. Listen, I was going to get right to let's because Jenna brings up the Cleveland Eagles game. Let's get to one thing. I look at weather reports every single week. You have to, right? You have to. If you want to do your due diligence as a fantasy player, you have to look at weather reports. It's only one game, and it is the Cleveland and Eagles game. Torrential downpours, okay? And the thing is, it's not even going to be windy today. It is going to be torrential rain in this Cleveland game, okay? And again, you have to remember something. We've seen games like this before. There are 9-0 games, 3-3 games, 6-3 games. It's 100% chance of participation. Right? I mean, participation. I'm just acting like we're giving out trophies here. No, 100% chance of precipitation, and they're talking potential for torrential rain. It's going to be tough going out there. It is, and it made me drop my Nick Chubb pick, who I thought was going to be the number 2 back this week in fantasy, down to number 5, okay, specifically. So, Jenna, if you're asking me, for me personally, I would start the Vikings versus Dallas, and I get it. It's hard. Dallas, I think this week is going to score a lot. They are, but you just got to hope that Andy Dalton throws a pick or gives up a ball, throws a fumble. Maybe the Vikings can get a kick return for a touchdown. But just because of the weather conditions, I would go Vikings. At least they're playing inside and they'll be okay. Starting 2 here. Mike wants to know Kupp, Higgins, Zeke, Connor, Robbie Anderson. Ooh, man, look at this. I think this is a Zeke week. A lot of people are talking. I think Zeke Elliott goes off this week. I do. Listen, you cannot hold this guy back. The Dallas has faced a lot of adversity over the last couple of weeks. They've had a chance to recuperate. They get their guy back today, right? And what I'm thinking is right off the bat, what happens is they really start to become productive today. And I think this is Zeke takes over. I do. I know he's had fumbling issues. I know he's had some issues where, is he really into the game? Is he concentrated? But I like Zeke. I don't think you can take him out. Now, you have a lot of interesting options here, okay? A lot of interesting options. James Conner. Listen, I like James Conner, but here's the problem with James Conner. He's not consistent. He doesn't get consistent volume, and not because he has competition to carries, because there's a lot of mouths to feed out there in Pittsburgh. And today, I think it's an elite matchup for Ben Roethlisberger because he has those three weapons out there in Johnson and Juju and Claypool, and he also has Eric Ebron, and they do like Benny Snell as a change of pace guy. So I just don't think Conner gets enough volume. I like T. Higgins a lot. T. Higgins, to me, here's the thing. Be careful with Cooper Kupp. He's developed a wrist injury 2 weeks ago. You see he only played 50% of the snaps last week. It was bothering him. So he is going to play, but you just don't know what's going to happen. That's why Josh Reynolds got a lot of volume. Robbie Anderson has not been good the last 5 weeks, but today, I keep saying this is a Robbie Anderson day to me. So, but if it were me, it's Zeke and Higgins to start two, and a strong three would be Robbie Anderson. So I hope that helps. Now, we have so many other interesting scenarios, right? We got another question coming in pick two. Oh, Jacoby Myers, Chris Godwin, Chase Claypool, Rojo, Michael Thomas. This is Michael Thomas week, man. I'm telling you, start Michael Thomas. This is what I'm talking about. I don't care who's behind center. I think Michael Thomas finally takes over a game. He's finally good to be back, and I think this is the week. The 10 points, throw them at the window. I think this is the week. And, you have a lot of interesting scenarios here if you're picking two, because Chris Godwin is kind of the forgotten man in Tampa Bay. We talked about him on the Fantasy Firebox on Wednesday because he coming in, a lot of people spent a lot of draft capital to move up and to guarantee a spot to draft Godwin in that first round. He was going late first round, early second round in a lot of drafts. His ADP was going through the roof. And unfortunately right now, Tom Brady is locked in on Mike Evans. He's locked in on Mike Evans, and he's starting to develop the rapport again with Antonio Brown, getting Gronk involved. So Godwin's kind of like the forgotten man. He could go off at any time, but I just don't trust his volume right now. Jacoby Myers is the only guy catching balls out there in New England. Julian Edelman has another knee scope. It's bone on bone. He is not going to be right, even if he comes back at any point this season, which I don't think he will. I like Myers a lot. Claypool, interesting. Claypool is a very interesting pick because you just, again, a lot of mouths to feed. I think this is Deontay Johnson week. Rojo, listen, if you take out the big play by Rojo, it's kind of medium range, okay? Leonard Fournette is still the guy. So if you ask me, if I'm picking two, Michael Thomas is one, Jacoby Myers is two. I think Jacoby gets a really good game again. Lots of volume, a lot of targets. Should I start Hines or Fulgham at flat? Listen, seeing what Fulgham did last week, it's got to be very disturbing to Fulgham owners because Carson Wentz didn't look his way at all. Okay, and that's the one thing. If you go back, and we talked about this, what is going to happen when all the players come back, right? What's going to happen to Travis Fulgham? Was he a product of just nobody actually being there to catch the ball? Okay, so we have to watch. Now, again, poor weather conditions out there in Cleveland. Jalen Reagor didn't do much last week, but again, last week, 5 targets, 1 catch, 8 yards. I'm sorry, but that's not enough for me. And again, he's dropped. Okay, you have to when he first came in, 13 targets, then he went to 10, then he stayed at 10, then he went to 7, then he went to 5. So I don't know, is this a consistent drop-off? I'd be very careful when I'm looking at Travis Fulgham. So for me, for my money, I would go Nyheim Hines. Now, again, Nyheim Hines has the same issue. You don't know Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Wilkins, what are they going to do? But I think they finally seen it. They finally thought that this is the week. That, they gave him all the, the bulk of the work outside. They gave him some carries. And I think that, again, when you talk about Frank Reich, he knows a system. So again, I really think that this could be a double-digit week again for Nyheim Hines. Checking in Seattle, Hyde looked good. Listen, Hyde's always, throughout his career, whether it be San Francisco, whether it be here in Seattle, he's always looked good. The only problem with Hyde, even in Cleveland, the only problem is, he can't stay healthy. Hyde is a very good and serviceable running back. He just can't stay healthy. But just remember, no matter what, Chris Carson is the guy. As long as he comes back and healthy, again, he is the guy that you need to look at in Seattle. But listen, Carlos Hyde to me has always been a very good running back. He just can't stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, man, I'll tell you, he definitely will be a really good back. Finn's schedule favors. I love Tua. Listen, if this is the first time listening to me, or if you follow me, if you watch me, I'm going to brand the word Tua time, the phrase, because I absolutely love Tua. I think that Tua is going to continue to get better and better and better. Multiple touchdowns again. Listen, this week matchup is good. It's juicy. I like them. I like them a lot. And I just think, I know they get Matt Breida back there, so there's interesting scenarios. Is Ahmed going to get the same amount of touches as he did? Obviously, they liked him at enough to get rid of Jordan Howard. It looks like he was running in quicksand. Eagles pick him up. Fans are going crazy. Don't expect anything out of Jordan Howard. Okay, say what you want, but it's nothing. He's done. But yeah, the Finns schedule definitely favors Tua. I like Tua time for the rest of the year, no doubt. What's your thoughts? Tom wants to know what's your thoughts on the Taysom Hill situation. That's what I mentioned earlier. One of our famous followers, and Jenna, asked the same question, up top. And here's the thing about Tua. About Taysom Hill. This all is predicated on Sean Payton. Again, all predicated on Sean Payton. The reason why I say that is Sean Payton is the evil genius, okay? You just don't know what's in his mind. You know that he thinks that right now, if you think that Taysom Hill is going to take 100% of the snaps, I think you're crazy. I do. I don't think it's happening. I could definitely see Jameis Winston getting this game. I have a gut feeling, and I know it's probably going to be wrong, but I have to throw it out there because I get these, not to sound like I'm like Phoebe from Charmed, okay, if you ever watched that, because that was a really good show. I'm all in those kind of shows back in the day. But she had these premonitions, right? So I had this premonition that for some reason, Taysom Hill was going to start the game. He's going to play one or two series, and then it's going to be Jameis Winston's game for the rest of the day. I don't trust either of them right now from a fantasy perspective, unless you're able to get on that loophole where Taysom Hill is tight end eligible. So if he is tight end eligible and you have a very good scoring system in fantasy where all touchdowns count, no matter throwing, running, receiving, depending on position, then I would lock him in as your tight end. But besides that, I wouldn't trust either of them at the quarterback position, because you don't know. If we knew Jameis was going to be the starter, if he was named the starter, I would be all in on Jameis. The problem is when you get a gadget guy, and I know Taysom Hill is unique, but you get a gadget guy and you pronounce him as a starter, just makes you think a little bit, right? Makes you think a little bit. Is it really going to be his whole game? So we should see. Ram wants to know defense with Washington D or the Rams D. This is an interesting one. I actually went with the Rams defense on DFS on DraftKings. And the reason why, as much as I respect Tom Brady, and as much as Tom Brady can kind of do whatever he wants, Tom Brady needs time. The offensive line in Tampa Bay, number one, doesn't protect Brady like he was protected in New England. And number two, Tom Brady's getting older. He's not as mobile. He can't move around like he used to do. He's taking bad sacks. So I with Aaron Donald up front, I really think that, Jalen Ramsey playing the way he is, I kind of see, I can see Tom throwing at least one pick in this game and getting sacked like 2 or 3 times. So I think, points giving up, they're still going to give up 25, 28 points. It's inevitable. But you have to base this on what are they going to do when we talk about sacks and interceptions. So for me, I went with the LA Rams defense because of that fact. Now, again, it all depends on, which way you want to go. If you look at Washington playing against Cincinnati, Washington has a really good defense, and I like Jack Del Rio, and Jack Del Rio is going to mix it up when we talk about trying to stymie the rookie in Joe Burrow, right? Because you have to remember, when we talk about Joe Burrow, he did have that one bad game, right? He did have that one bad game. So I'm pretty sure that Jack Del Rio was watching tape all week and saying, what can we do? And that was against Baltimore. Baltimore held him under 63% completion rate, only 183 yards, threw a pick, barely was able to rush the ball, only gave you 10 fantasy points. Last week against Pittsburgh, he was under 50% completion rate, 21 of 40, 213 and a touchdown. So the blueprint is out against the rookie. But here's the thing, again, he threw 5 picks on the year, and I just think that they will be able to. I have more faith in Taylor out there to be able to formulate a game plan more against Washington than I do against Tampa, against the Rams, only because Aaron Donald is just an absolute nightmare for opposing quarterbacks, right? So you have to put that in perspective. Mike checks in. I think Jeffrey hinders. Listen, everybody hinders Fulgham, right? Everybody. As these players come back, and listen, Carson Wentz hinders Travis Fulgham. Carson Wentz, right now, there's just not enough good opportunities with the Philadelphia Eagles because we don't know what Carson Wentz is going to do. And in that game out there, again, I talked about torrential downpour conditions, very bad weather in Cleveland. Be very careful. Be very careful. My man Andre A-Bomb bringing the heat early. Absolutely. All day, every day, Andre. You know that, 9:30 every Sunday we bring the heat. Give you a good hour, right? Getting into your fantasy football matchup. 2 weeks left. Remember, people, 2 weeks left. For any league that starts in week 13, you only have 2 weeks left of fantasy football. 3 weeks if you start week 14, right? You just never know. Harder wants to know, let's pick 2. David Johnson, Nick Chubb, and DJ Moore at the flex. I can't. Deontay Johnson, I'm guessing you're talking about. So Deontay Johnson, for me, absolute lock. Even though the weather is going to be bad, I still think Nick Chubb gives you a top 5 performance. Not like a top 2 or 3 we thought maybe, but a top 5, top 7. So I would go Deontay Johnson. Chubb. I just can't. I can't trust DJ Moore right now. There's just too many inconsistencies out there in Carolina. Way too many. Mike, what's the tour of Matt Ryan? Hey, man, listen, that's a tough one. Here's what I will say. Be very careful with the Matt Ryan effect this week. And I'm just going to throw it out there. The New Orleans Saints at the trade deadline made a huge acquisition in Alexander, Quan Alexander, at the linebacker spot. They already had Demario Davis, who is a very, very underrated linebacker, right? They already have in the backfield, they already have an underrated secondary, right? Marcus Lattimore is playing exceptional, as always. Second-year player out of Ohio State. He is very, very good. Quan Alexander has really toured up that middle, the second line of defense and the defensive line. So Dennis Allen is a very good, underrated defensive coordinator. New Orleans is going to make a Super Bowl run. Okay, they listen, before Drew Brees went out, and he will come back, before he went out, they want to build that defense. So be careful with Matt Ryan this week because, again, Matt Ryan is an older quarterback. The offensive line for Atlanta has not been great. Cam Jordan has been playing very explosive the last 2 or 3 weeks. Their defensive tackles have been very good, and Alexander and Davis are going to pose a lot of problems for guys like Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst and Todd Gurley. So just be careful because I think this could be a game where Matt Ryan disappoints. Mike, I go Tua all day. Listen, Tua to me, he gives you that extra element, even in games, right? Even in games where a good defense is locking down wide receivers, even in a good game where they're taking away crossing routes across the middle, Tua can use his legs and make things happen and make the defense vulnerable. For that alone, he always gives you an opportunity. He is a locked in 20 points per week, a boomer bust to 40, right? And I say that because you just never know what's going to explode. But the 20 points per week with Tua is something that's consistent that you're always going to get, in my opinion. He might have a bad game here or there, just like you've seen Joe Burrow do, because he's a rookie. Doesn't matter. I take my chances with Tua because I just don't think Matt Ryan is going to have a good week this week. Listen, here's the thing, Ross. AP or Nyheim Hines. I would go Nyheim Hines in this flex spot because I think Kerryon Johnson, and you'll see why. I think Kerryon Johnson is going to be the guy this week for Detroit. Let's see. We got another question coming in. Wentz, Tannehill, McKissick, Ballage, Logan Thomas, Adams, Lockett, Hollywood, and Cooper. I have Patrick, Corey Davis, Mayfield on the bench. You think that's a safe lineup or what, brother? Week 11. Listen. Wentz, Tannehill. Was this a 2-quarterback league? I'm guessing. This is a tough one. This is a really tough one because if you're talking 2-quarterback league here, I think Wentz and Tannehill are your picks. I don't trust Baker Mayfield right now, even though they're winning in Cleveland. He's not putting up crazy points. I like McKissick a lot. 29 targets in 2 weeks. Kalen Ballage 73% of the workload. I really like that. I like Logan Thomas as a tight end for Washington. Devontae Adams obviously is a lock. You already had Lockett. Hollywood Brown and Amari Cooper. The only thing is, I would be careful of. Hollywood Brown scares me because I just don't think he's consistent enough. I never know when he's going to get the touches. Tim Patrick is getting a steady amount, like 7 for 60, 7 for 70, may get you a touchdown. So I think the only thing I would do is flip Hollywood Brown for Tim Patrick, and I think everything else should be good. Especially your PPR. That's exactly where I would go. Taysom Hill, Kirk Cousins, or Joe Burrow. Interesting dilemma. I can't start Taysom Hill. I can't. And again, for all who start him and get crazy production, kudos to you. Hats off. I hope it works out. I just like to play it on caution, right? I err on the side of caution. This is a tough one because I'm not a Kirk Cousins guy. Okay, I think Kirk Cousins is a terrible quarterback. But I did start him for 2 or 3 instances when last year that he won me games. But I will tell you, Dallas can play a really good defense and when you least expect it. And Kirk Cousins has a lot of ability, but he is listen, this is so tough because Joe Burrow is going against Washington, going against Here, you know what? At home, I'm going to go Kirk Cousins. I think this is a good week for Kirk Cousins at home. Joe Burrow is going out to Washington. I respect the hell out of Jack Del Rio, and I think he's going to follow that Baltimore-Pittsburgh blueprint, and I think they're going to shut Burrow down a little bit today. So I would go Kirk Cousins. He's got a lot of weapons out there. He's starting to get there where you have Adam Thielen catching double-digit touchdowns. He's got the rookie Justin Jefferson. I would go Kirk Cousins. I've heard Jared Cook and Logan Thomas for a tight end start, one facing 32, one facing 31 defense. Listen, Logan Thomas going up against Cincinnati, Jared Cook. You got to go with who's more explosive, right? You got to when you look at these scenarios. Listen, you're talking about a couple points here or there, right? You have to go with who's playing on the most explosive offense. Is it going to be Cook? Or is it going to be Thomas? And I think you already know the answer to that, right? I think Jared Cook, is going to trend up, especially no matter who gives up. Listen, I'm sorry. No matter who is throwing him the ball. Okay. Logan Thomas, I like, but I think he's a tier 3 guy. I put all my guys in the tiers, and Jared Cook Jared Cook is a top 10 tight end this week. So he's a tier 2 player. So I would still go Jared Cook based on that offense. Claypool or CD Lamb? And here's an interesting one right now, just based on the fact that you don't know what this Dallas offense is going to start, with and look like and how they're going to produce. And I have to go Chase Claypool. I love what Chase Claypool's doing. I think this is an elite week for Ben Roethlisberger. So between those two guys, you got to start Claypool. Everywhere I'm reading says Dolphins shut down Denver wideouts. Well, here's the thing. A lot of that is predicated on Drew Lock, right? A lot of it. And what you do, here's what I do. You're right. Will they lock people up? Absolutely. Xavier Howard is a tremendous player, okay? He is. He's a tremendous player. So what I do is when these scenarios come up, I just go back and I look at the player, okay? So I'll give you some live stats here. So I'm a volume guy. Let's go by volume, okay? So volume to me isn't always catch rate. It's how many targets these guys are getting, okay? So Tim Patrick has never had less than 4 targets, ever. Right? He's never had less than 4 targets. He's always had at least 4 targets, no matter how bad Drew Lock has been. Because, again, he's going to get garbage points as well, right? But Tim Patrick, again, couple weeks in the teens, high teens, 14, 1 in the 20s, another 14, single digits. Listen, again, he has been pretty consistent on what he's going to give you, 4, 3, 5. Talking about catches. So when I look at that, to me, the volume is there. Okay. So the volume is always there. Again, you're asking about who to start based on, and I'm gonna let's go back because there's a lot of questions coming in here. Okay. Hollywood Brown, right? So let's look at Hollywood Brown. And again, Hollywood Brown is not consistent. Okay, you have to understand that. This is the reason for my pick. So you have to look at what Hollywood Brown has done. And if you look at, again, volume, Hollywood Brown, again, we'll go the last 4 weeks, 6, 2, 5, and 6. But you have to look at his catches, 1, 3, 2, 1. Listen, Hollywood Brown is not getting consistent catches. Okay, he's just not. I can't rely on Hollywood Brown. I know it's only a matter of 3 or 4 points, but 3 or 4 points could be the difference between a win or a loss, especially this stage in his career. I mean, this stage in fantasy football, right? This stage in the season. So for me, I would definitely go with Tim Patrick. Okay. Brown against slow. I think Hollywood wakes up today. Listen, and that's fine. If you think Hollywood wakes up, go for it. Always go with your gut. I'm just telling you the way I feel. That's all. I'm just going with the way that I look at and the way I analyze, just so you know what I'm looking at on why I'm just not throwing shit up against a wall and say, yo, just go this one, right? So you would start. Yes, I would start Jared Cook over Logan Thomas. Verone checks in. I have option of card 2. From waivers. Listen, Derek Carr has been very, very lackluster at best. He hasn't hit over 164 yards in 3 weeks. He's not a very good fantasy quarterback, no matter what happens. And I think, here's the thing. I think the Vegas Raiders get spanked this week by the Chiefs. I think it's not even close. I think Derek Carr is going to be running for his life out there. They have a lot to prove in Kansas City. All right, so let me get to some things right here. I want to give you guys, some undervalue. So here's my thing. I want to preface this by saying, realize this. I like digging deep under that $4,000 range. Okay. I try to digging deep because in DFS, when you set your lineup, you have to have these gems that nobody else has. You have to look at guys and say, who can I pick out after I get my lockdown studs? We talk about this on the Firebox every single week, right? We talk about it on the Firebox every single week. So let me get the one. One of my guys this week, value to play here. Okay, is 100% is Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant has been doing nothing but catching the ball for 2 of the last 2 weeks. And he's starting to rise a little bit as being a go-to guy. If you look at DraftKings right now, he's only asking $3,500, okay, for Jakeem Grant, a guy who's had at least 5 targets and 5 catches the last 2 weeks and has scored a touchdown. Tua is looking for him. He's going to be their gadget guy. They're making him into their Tyreek Hill out there. Devontae Parker will always be the guy. Gesicki's a really good tight end. But Jakeem Grant, just watch him. He's turning into a weapon. And for $3,500 this week, listen, again, he's a really, really good play. Again, I have a bunch of these guys, so just bear with me, okay? Let me get to some other questions here. We got need 2 in standard, Shade 721. Rojo, Duke, Harris, Zeke, Balaz. Listen, easy. This one is easy for me. It's Zeke and Balaz. 100%. No end of for buts about it. Both of those guys get the most volume of anybody. Everybody's on a Rojo kick this week. I'm down on Rojo a little bit. He had a huge play, which is great. Boosts his numbers. This is a Zeke Elliott week. I think Zeke turns back the clock. Feed me more. You're going to see it a lot. Okay, I really like it. Zeke and Balaj are my two guys right there. Dan Thomas or Cook is very tough for me. Jared Cook, like Hollywood for me. Volume's there for Logan Thomas. Volume is there for Logan Thomas, man. It is, but I just think Jared Cook catches a touchdown today. I think this is a week where Jared Cook steps up as the go-to guy. Remember, whenever there's a quarterback change, they always rely on the tight end. Now, Alex Smith is going to throw a ton today, right? He threw for over 300 yards last week. So, yes, Logan Thomas, he likes the tight end. I just think McKissick is going to play a role, and that brings me right into my segue here for another value pick. Again, watch these value picks, okay? Again, here is another value pick. We got Sims. Cam Sims, again, Sims for the Washington Redskins. Cam Sims, again, this is a guy, $3,300, okay? And again, I bring these guys up, okay? I bring these guys up because, listen, when you set your lineup, you gotta find out. Cam Sims has been nothing but productive. 94% of the snaps, 164 yards and 7 catches in the last 2 weeks. This guy is getting volume. Go by volume. So don't be afraid. Boomer bust guy, $3,300 for Cam Simmons. Go check him out. Another guy, we talked about this earlier. How about Kerryon Johnson? I still think Kerryon Johnson is going to be the guy to lean on this week for the Detroit Tigers. I almost said. I think I'm talking baseball. For the Detroit Lions. I do. I think this is the week for Kerryon Johnson to step up. Obviously, DeAndre Swift. Not going to matter. When DeAndre Swift comes back next week, he is the stud, the lockdown number one. But Kerryon Johnson, $4,000. You could be getting a number one running back kind of production for $4,000. It's something that is unheard of nowadays. And my last guy, check this. This is one of my favorites. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Devin Duvernay. Okay, Duvernay. I'm sorry. I'm all over the map here. Devin Duvernay for the Baltimore Ravens. Here is another cat who is slowly but surely getting more snaps in that Baltimore offense. He's not just a kick returner. This kid is lightning fast, okay? Lightning fast. And he's out snapping the number 3 wide receiver in Miles Boykin. It's 99-75 over the last 3 games. That's a very important stat, which means which means is Devin is getting the volume and Devin is getting more looks. And I'm telling you, this could be the week. $3,000. So there's 4 guys right there. Think about it. 4 guys under $4,000. Pick one of them as your flex guy and pick the right one. And we could be looking at some really, really good production this week. Again, Devin Duvernay, Kerryon Johnson, Jakeem Grant, Cam Sims. They're my guys. I'll be posting them on Twitter later. Again, now let's look at this. Now we're going to go for my top 5 running backs of the week. All right, let's start with quarterbacks. Top 5 quarterbacks of the week. Justin Herbert for me against the Jets. Again, he to me is the lockdown number 1 quarterback this week. I think he goes off, absolutely goes off. You see what Patrick Mahomes did when we talk, against the New York Jets. I think this will be no different. Okay, no different for me. I really like Justin Herbert. Patrick Mahomes, always going to be in your top 3, always going to be productive. I think Patrick Mahomes is 100% going to be your number 2 quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger with an elite matchup this week, okay? 38 years old, 2 bad knees against Jacksonville, playing out there in the nice weather. Ben's just going to, as long as they protect Ben's going to pick apart that Jacksonville team all day long. Deshaun Watson going up against New England. This isn't the old New England team that we're used to. Deshaun Watson can get it done with his arm, with his feet. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a Deshaun and Cam show. I like it, so I'm picking Deshaun Watson. And Cam Newton gets in my top 5 this week. And again, Cam Newton to me, this is the kind of game that he lives for. It's going to be, mobile against mobile. He wants to show he still has it. I like this matchup against him too, with the Texans, who the defense is not very good in the secondary. So they're my top 5 quarterbacks. Now let's go to the running back position. Number 1 is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara setting records all over the map. He has been absolutely unreal. Dalvin Cook at number 2. Again, Kamara and Cook are consistently going to be 1-2 every week, no matter what the matchup is. And when McCaffrey gets healthy, he'll be in there as well. Speaking of McCaffrey, my number 3 guy, Mike Davis. I can see Mike Davis getting 150 plus combined yards today from scrimmage when we're talking about catching or running from the ball. I really like the matchup for Mike Davis this week. And one of the unsung heroes of fantasy is James Robinson. Just consistently produces, gets 6-7 yards per carry. He's always around the end zone. He has no competition for volume. James Robinson, for me, number 4. And Nick Chubb going against a very bad Eagles defense against the run. They're giving up big plays in chunks. This is going to be, it could be the weather conditions. Like I said, I had Nick Chubb originally as my number 2 for this week. I think that highly of him. I dropped him down to number 5 because I just think that, in his number 5 spot that he's still going to be very productive, but the weather could hinder what he does, in the run game because of footing issues. And then we're going to finish up with the wide receivers. Okay, let's finish up with the wide receivers. We're going to go Devontae Adams. He has to be your number 1. I don't care who he plays, where he plays. It doesn't matter. This guy is setting records all across the board. He has become the lockdown number 1 receiver in fantasy instantaneously. He's helping Aaron Rodgers, silence all the critics and all the skeptics out there, all the pessimists that said that he wouldn't have a good year. He is on track to do big things this week again. And then Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is really starting to be very, very reliable. He was a guy in the beginning, you just didn't know, 5, 6. He's starting to get double-digit looks now, double-digit targets. They're using him much more. No matter who comes back, McCole Hardman, doesn't matter. Tyreek Hill against Vegas, that is going to be a bloodbath out there. Okay, like I said, it is going to be a bloodbath. Terry McLaurin, who I love. I love Terry McLaurin this week. He is going to give you an elite option. And in DraftKings, his number has it didn't drop, but compared to where other guys are, I think he's a really good value. I do. Terry McLaurin is going to be very, very productive. $6,900. Okay, he's almost $1,000 less than Devontae Adams. I think he can put up even better numbers than Adams this week, possibility, but I can't put him in that top spot because Devontae has just been great. Keenan Allen against the Jets. We talk about Herbert being my number 1 guy. I think the stack is in full effect this week. The Herbert Allen Balaj stack. Check that out. Herbert Allen Balaj. When did you ever think you were going to hear the Herbert Allen Balaj stack? I love it. 100%. What a great stack that would be to win in your DFS lineup this week. And then Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas will finally show you can't guard Mike. I don't care who the quarterback is, how many snaps each one of them get. Michael Thomas is going to take over that game. They will have no answer in Atlanta for Michael Thomas today. So that rounds out my top 5. Again, remember, I will post these on Twitter later. I'll give you a last look. My top 5 quarterbacks. Okay, we go to the top 5 running backs. Okay, we got my top 5 wide receivers, and then we got the gems of the week for Fox Sports The Gambler, the gems of the week, where we're talking about Jakeem Grant, Kerryon Johnson, Devin Duvernay, okay, and Cam Sims for the Washington football team. All these guys under $4,000. Man, again, we got some more questions. We'll go at the end of the day. Ronald Jones or J.D. McKissick. Again, I'm going to go J.D. McKissick here. I am. I think McKissick, 29 targets in 2 weeks is just unheard of. Rojo is a one-trick pony. If he doesn't get the touches, if he doesn't get the huge rushing yards, he's not going to give you the PPR numbers. So I would actually go J.D. McKissick this week. Again, I think he's going to get a lot of checkdowns from Alex Smith. So I think he's a good pick. In a keeper league, would you hold Benny Snell Jr. in the taxi squad? Oh, man, listen, I like Benny Snell. I do. Benny Snell to me has turned into a really good guy, man. A really, really good guy. So I do. I like Benny Snell. Who would I start? Josh Reynolds or Willie Snead? I think it's got to be Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds has turned into the number 2 option. Putting down, listen, it goes Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds, Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been down in the number 3 spot. So 100%, I would say Josh Reynolds. Look at my man Trevor checking in. Trevor, what's up? Live from Cleveland. Trevor, following the Birds, going after the Cleveland in the dog pound. Trevor, what is it like? Is it already raining out there? Is it crap? I've already talked about the weather conditions are going to be horrific out there with no wind, but a lot of rain. Footing could be a problem. A lot of things for this match. So, with Trevor, before we get out of here, I got about 4 minutes left. Let me know what you're seeing out there. Let me know, man. There's a lot of different things. Again, I want to talk about real fast. Don't forget, start rainy. Trevor says rainy. Yeah, we know that, man. 100%. Listen, don't forget to follow the YouTube page at Heat Ratio Sports. Okay, everything is updated on there concurrently with Fox Sports The Gambler. Check me out every single day at 3:50-ish doing the fantasy talk. Again, check it out. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Subscribe to the Heat Ratio Sports podcast, which, again, we do a live show. It's all sports, but the Fantasy Firebox. It's the home of the Fantasy Firebox. Get in on the Fantasy Firebox. We go live every Wednesday. It is also on iHeartRadio, on Fox Sports The Gambler, the home of the Jigsaw Fantasy Football Fix. So you got to check it out, please. Doing a lot of good work over here. A lot of people are doing a lot of great work at the station. Give us a follow. You won't be disappointed. Mike Evans or AB, they said there's an interesting question, right? I've been waiting for that because I can't wait to see Mike Evans go up against Jalen Ramsey. And again, I think Jalen Ramsey's going to be all in on Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans still gets a couple catches. This could be one of those Mike Evans games where he scores twice in the red zone, but only gets like 3 catches. So I like Antonio Brown this week. If you notice the way this is going, Antonio Brown, listen, there were some silent, causes for concern. Okay, hearing about him breaking some cameras and things with paparazzi at his home and things of that nature. Nobody cares about that. We would care about what's on the field in the locker room. And then Arians came out in his defense right away and was like, listen, AB has been a stand-up teammate, a stand-up player, and he wants him to shut out on the field. Tom Brady knows that. This is a veteran club, a veteran team. They're going to want to make AB stand out. So I think Antonio Brown is definitely the number 1 receiver this week for the Tampa Bay offense. With no end if or buts about it. Nick Leo 07 checking in from YouTube. What is up, fam? How you doing? Fill 2 running backs. Interesting. Let's see. He wants 2 running backs and 1 flex. For 2 running back spots, he has Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, and James Robinson. There's some really good backs you got, my man. Really good backs. For the flex 2 that you didn't pick and chase, Claypool. All right, here's the deal right here. 100% you have to go James Robinson. He doesn't come out of your lineup, okay? He just definitely doesn't come out of your lineup. Kareem Hunt and Josh Jacobs are interesting picks. Kareem Hunt could be hindered by weather. I'm not sure. Josh Jacobs is hit or miss. He's been playing better. I just think that Chiefs defense is going to shut the Raiders down today. I don't have a lot of hope. I like Antonio Gibson. He's been week in and week out. He's been a guy. So listen, this is going to be an interesting one, but I'm going to go Antonio Gibson, James Robinson, and Chase Claypool. That's going to be my 3. I would definitely go with Gibson and Robinson as your running back spot. My flex would be Chase Claypool. And again, this is 100% predicated on bad weather in Cleveland, or I would have Kareem Hunt in there. And Josh Jacobs, I get it. He's a really good running back, but fantasy-wise, he's been very inconsistent. He's starting to turn it up, but this is a weird game. This is a revenge game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Been a lot of billboard material, right? A lot of bulletin board material. We talk about that all the time for the Kansas City Chiefs. with the Raiders. So I think Andy's got some special plays cooking up for Mr. Gruden out there in Vegas. So another question coming in: Houston defense or Washington defense? I'm going Washington defense. I think they're going to stymie Joe Burrow today. And again, this is 100% based on Jack Del Rio being the ultimate defensive coordinator. I love Jack Del Rio. Listen, this is a guy who played the game, played on the field, knows how. Him and Ron Rivera, tremendous coaching staff they assemble for the Washington football team. I like Del Rio being able to take that blueprint of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens and being able to stymie the rookie in Joe Burrow to bring his numbers down and causing some erratic throws to Whitley. He's never thrown more than one pick in a game, Joe Burrow. So I'm not saying, listen, I could see one pick, maybe a couple fumbles. He's going to take some sacks today. So I would definitely go Washington defense. So we got Colts or Patriots defense. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Because the Colts are going up against the Magic Man and Aaron Rodgers. And even Aaron Rodgers are playing so well, but the Colts defense is really, really good. That is a really tough question. That could almost be a pick 'em. So, oh man, I think this is a game that you're going to have to look at sacks. And you're going to have to look at, this is a tough one. This is a really, really tough one. You know what? I'm actually going to go to Colts here. I am. I'm going to go to Colts. And, Aaron Rodgers, I think, will be forced to, really try to thread the needle a few times. And I could see one getting picked off. And I can see Aaron getting hit a couple times in the pocket, maybe fumbling the ball, and for a defensive touchdown. I think the Colts are more likely to get a defensive touchdown than the New England Patriots this week. So for that only reason in this pick'em, I will go Indianapolis even against Aaron Rodgers. See, again, me and Andre on the same page. Heat Ratio Sports, the family is alive. My man, on a Sunday, church day, God's house, and we are live talking fantasy football. So again, we're going to finish this up. We only got a few minutes left. Remember, we got about 3 minutes left. Keep it locked on the station. Fox Sports PHL Gambler. Go on Twitter. Follow at Fox PHL Gambler. Again, get it going. You see it. You get it. We give you right up top at TCatillo23. I am Jigsaw Catillo. Do all the fantasy work for Fox Sports The Gambler. All the fantasy work for Heat Ratio Sports and the Fantasy Firebox. You can catch me live every single day on the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace on Fox Sports The Gambler. You can stream it live on the iHeartRadio app. Several different stations you can get it, depending if you are local. If not, again, it's crystal clear. Just hit the app, download the iHeart app, get on there, go to the Fantasy Fix. I have my own page. Okay, it has all the Fantasy Fix hits, has all the Fantasy Firebox episodes. Go on the YouTube page at Heat Ratio Sports. For everybody that is commenting on YouTube, please subscribe to the page. I get a lot of comments. Subscribe to the page. Everybody on Twitch right now, subscribe to the Twitch page. Give me the comments, subscribe to the page. It'd be greatly appreciated. Andre checking in, our random interception, couple sacks. Exactly, Andre, 100% me and you are spot on once again. Coming in from Twitch, we got Mike coming in from Twitch talking about thoughts on Miles Sanders this week. Ooh, that's a tough, listen, there's going to be a lot of running in this game. Wet conditions. Don't know how the field's going to hold up. They promote Holyfield. I almost said Evander Holyfield. They promote Holyfield for the practice squad. They can't use Jordan Howard yet. They have Boston Scott. Listen, they have not given Miles Sanders more than 16 or 17 looks a week, no matter if he's healthy or not. I don't think that's going to change at all this week. I can't trust. Here's my problem with Miles Sanders. I love him. For me, I wanted him to be a top back this year. I thought he had every ounce of production to be able to be a top 5 running back. People told me I was wrong because of Doug Peterson. And it looks like they were right. So right now, I cannot trust Miles Sanders. Until Miles Sanders shows me he is going to get the volume of everything, I just can't trust him. Only thought I have is a better run him. Kamara is the only player in the league. Exactly. And that's the thing, Andre. And the problem is, Kamara, based on what Kamara is doing, and based on the amount of touches he's getting, it makes Kamara even that much more fantastic as a number one back in fantasy. And you're right. If you can't trust Deuce to keep it going, we have no idea what he is doing out there with that running back rotation. So again, we got a couple minutes left. Any last minute questions? Get them in. I'm going to look on live real fast because sometimes the questions that come in on Facebook, we do not get. For some reason, I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Again, what do you think about Keenan Allen? Is he a number one wide receiver overall? I think Keenan Allen will be very, very productive this week. Again, if you look, he is on my top 5. Jose, what's up, my man? How you doing? Hopefully you made out well last week. I know you were checking in. Again, Carson Wentz or Kirk Cousins. Interesting. Carson Wentz or Kirk Cousins. I would go. I'm gonna as much as it pains me to say this, okay, because I am not a guy. As much as it pains me to say this, I am not a Kirk Cousins guy. But I would go Kirk Cousins 100%. I would definitely go Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins has an extreme matchup at home this week against the Dallas Cowboys. I think Kirk Cousins, he showed he's starting to lock in on Adam Thielen. He's pumped. They had a good win last week. He had good production. Dalvin Cook is going to be running all over. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Zeke Elliott's going to do the same thing. So I just can't trust Carson Wentz right now. I just can't trust him until Carson shows me anything of relevance. I just can't trust him. So I will go Kirk Cousins 100%. Again, field conditions play into that. And Kirk Cousins just, to me, has a lot of weapons right now. Carson's still trying to figure it out. So until Carson figures it out, I can't trust him. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up. It has been fantastic. I want to appreciate everybody for checking in. You guys have been wonderful. We had a tremendous amount of comments, over 168 comments combined, whether you talk about Twitter. I haven't even checked Instagram yet, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. I got one last Jude checking in. One last question here. Adrian Peterson or Malcolm Brown? Oh, that's a tough one. Man. This is a tough question. I got to think about this for a second because I think this can go either way. And we'll finish it up on this question. This can go either way. I'm a real big, Kerryon Johnson guy this week, but I think just based on the fact that I really can't trust, Malcolm Brown, because I think Cam Akers is starting to really come alive, and I think he's going to surpass Malcolm Brown on a depth chart. I would go Adrian Peterson. I think Adrian Peterson gets in the red zone, gets in the goal, gets a touchdown today. I think that's why. I think he's. When I go against two equal backs, I always go about who's more, predicated to score. Who can I guess that will score? It's got to be AP. It's got to be the matchups there. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. So I would go Adrian Peterson, and hopefully it works out. Again, as always, all the questions that were answered, let us know. Did they help? Did they hurt? Was I an idiot? Was I wrong? It's okay. I could take it. All good. Don't forget, again, I'm going to say this again. I'm trying to make you guys some money. Okay, again, trying to make you guys some money. Kerryon Johnson, $4,000. Jakeem Grant, $3,500. Cam Sims, $3,300, and Devin Duvernay at $3,000. 4 DFS picks under $4,000. Check them out, see what they do, and hopefully one of them hits for you and helps you win your game today. Again, at TKTOL23, give me a follow on Twitter. At Fox Sports The Gambler. Give us a follow on Twitter. At Heat Ratio Sports on Facebook. Check us out. At Heat Ratio Sports on Twitter. Check us out on Twitch at Heat Ratio Sports. On YouTube at Heat Ratio Sports. I am everywhere. Tony Jigsaw Control. You can find me 7 days a week. And also on This Week in Pro Football on Saturdays with Joe Torti and Pat Callahan, brought to you by Parks Casino and at Fox Sports The Gambler. Everybody have a fantastic Sunday. Get at me in the threads. Again, I'll be here up until kickoff all day long following the games. Any questions, anything you hit on, let me know. Anything that was a bad pick, let me know. And I will be posting all my stuff on Twitter for the next several hours. So again, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks again for a fantastic show, and good luck in your DFS matchups and traditional fantasy as well. Again, go Birds. I say that, never know, but go Birds.